Welcome everyone, this is your friendly neighborhood college counselor, Chandra, back here again to talk to you more about everything college applications and admissions. Today we're going to learn about the 5-step guide for how to choose the perfect college for you. Alright, and before we get into everything, I want to talk a little bit about the concept of college fit. So I don't know if any of you have heard that term before, but that's something that's really important to us here whenever we're guiding any student to making a college list or figuring out, where you want to apply. And when you're making a decision about where you want to go to college, it's important to consider a whole variety of factors, and maybe even some that you hadn't considered before, right? And ultimately the goal is for you to find not just an academic institution, but a place where you're really gonna thrive, right? An environment, a community of peers that's gonna support all of your personal ambitions, your growth, your transformation, and everything that you want out of a college experience, and that goes so far beyond the classroom. So the interesting part about college fit is that it's not even so much for you to find the perfect place for you, it's also a strategy to optimize your likelihood of admission. Because if you find an institution that you feel like you are a absolute perfect fit at, more likely than not, that university will pick up on those same shared values and that mutual value add that each of you will have, and they will be more excited to accept you, right? So this entire exercise is very important in picking the right college list for you and ultimately ending up where you're gonna really be happy. Okay, so for the purposes of this video, I'm going to focus on all the different colleges in the US for starters, and we'll definitely have more covering all the different regions. Okay, but step one in choosing the perfect college for you is understanding what types of colleges even exist in the US, right? And we're going to start with everybody's favorite, the elite, most highly selective institutions, also known as the Ivy Leagues. Right? And this is really a type of college on its own, which is kind of characterized by a sense of a deeply intellectual, very academic vibe, right? A little bit pretentious. Generally, they're mostly located in the Northeast, and a lot of students there are legacy. So when you're thinking about your own fit there, you want to consider that environment that you're going to go into, and is that a place where you really see yourself fitting in and gelling with the kids around you. The next type of colleges that we're going to talk about are the large research universities. They're typically public, they're typically state universities, right? Which means that a large part of the student body comes from in-state students, okay? And generally acceptance rates tend to be a little bit more competitive for out-of-state or international students, but these are environments where you really have to go at it on your own, right? You won't necessarily get a lot of very intensive advising or hand-holding, and you kind of have to find your way in this large sea of students, but it can also be amazing because you have a whole host of resources available to you if you can kind of go out and find them. These universities have a mix of like graduate schools and undergraduate schools, so you also want to think about if graduate school is something that you're interested in, this might be a good fit for you. The next type of university is the Tech Institute, right? If you are super committed to studying engineering or some kind of like technical field, whether that's computer science or something in STEM field, a tech institute could be perfect for you because you will likely be able to sidestep a lot of those core distribution requirements that other liberal arts curricula demand, and you will just be able to dive straight into your passion for, say, mechanical engineering, right? And commit your 4 years' time to that. These universities tend to have a big focus again on research and innovation and entrepreneurship, and you're sure to find other techie people like you there. So if that's where you would like to be, then that's the right fit for you, right? And finally, the last type of college is the small liberal arts college. All right, and these are becoming more and more popular every year, and These colleges tend to be much smaller, right, around the range of 5,000 to 7,000 undergraduate student enrollment at max. And the benefit of these colleges is that they're very holistic in their curriculum. You will study likely all the different types of subjects that are out there, right? You will likely benefit from smaller class sizes. You will be able to benefit from a very small, intimate community feeling, where you spend a lot of time with the same people and build deep relationships with your professors and your peers in a way that may be more difficult at the larger universities. So now that we've discussed all the different types of universities, the question comes down to how do you choose, right? What makes them all different to you? And that's really the fun part, because you get to turn inwards, like we always do, and ask ourselves, why are you going to college in the first place, right? What is it that you're looking to get out of a college experience? And that truly is different for every single kid. And that was definitely different for me than it was for all my peers when I was applying, right? So are you going to college because you need the degree to get a job that you want afterwards? Are you going to college because you really are passionate about your subject and want to get into research and academia? Maybe you're going because you want to start your own business afterwards, right? And you need to learn how to do that. If you're more like me, then you are going to college to figure out what on earth you want to do with your life, right? And college is actually a great place to do that. So depending on what you're actually looking to get out of, you can sort of evaluate what colleges are going to give you the right experience and exposure that is going to get you to where you want to go. First things first, before you even start researching, you also need to assess where you are at right now, how you rate vis-a-vis the other applicants and kids who get into these colleges, okay? So what I want all of you guys to do right now is write down your most recent GPA, SAT scores, APs, and maybe, some of the other factors of your application, and compare those statistics to the students that were accepted at different colleges that you're interested in, right? So for example, if I have a GPA of 3.5 and an SAT score of, say, 1450, right? I go to Harvard University and I look up the statistics of accepted students there. And I find out that most accepted students had a GPA of at least a 3.9, if not a 4.0, and an SAT score of at least a 1550, then I'm going to say, look, okay, that may not be the right college for me given my current statistics. So let me not even waste my time, researching too much about colleges where my likelihood of admission isn't that great. And instead, I'm going to focus my attention on, say, the Duke University. That could be such a tremendous option for me. Okay, so we want to be super realistic going into it, so that we can be the most productive as possible. Okay, and that brings us to step number 3, where you actually get down into researching, right? And what are the different factors to research when you are setting out to understand whether a college is the right fit for you? Well, naturally, the first thing to look into are the academics, right? Scroll through the majors list. Do they offer some cool majors that you'd be interested in? Do they even have the academic program that you're looking for? It would be really interesting for you to even deep dive into the curriculum of the school that you're researching. So, for example, Brown University has what's known as the open curriculum, which gives a great deal of flexibility to the students to design their own major, right? If you are someone who wants a lot of freedom in exploring different subjects, or maybe knitting together all kinds of disciplines to kind of form your own major, a university with an open curriculum could be really great for you. Alternatively, some schools like Columbia University have the core curriculum, which is, a very well-defined structure that would guide your kind of 4 years in a much more rigid way. And that really works out for a lot of students as well. But it's important to look into these things before you sit down to actually apply, right? Other factors, location. Okay, you guys, I know a lot of us, especially many of us international students sitting in different countries, are like, we just want to go to the US, it doesn't matter where, right? But the location of your university makes a really big difference in terms of your overall experience. Yes, one, that's 4 years, but also your career opportunities afterwards. Because more than likely, if you're going to school or college in New York City, you're probably going to get a job in New York City or in and around that area, right? If you go to college in an extremely rural setting, well, you know, the types of job opportunities that you're going to have are different, and you will likely get job opportunities in sort of neighboring towns or bigger cities that are, you know, around your college. Think about the different regions of the US. Each region of the US has a very distinct subculture, okay? And I can speak from experience when I say that California is almost a country unto itself, right? It is vastly liberal, extremely sort of progressive, extremely politically engaged, very LGBTQ friendly, sort of very left-leaning in all of its views. So when you're applying to college in California, you got to understand that this is the environment you're getting yourself into, and if you don't see yourself being comfortable there, then that's something to consider. Whereas in the American South, for example, mindsets and mentalities are very different. The culture and reception of people of diverse backgrounds and ethnicities is very different. So once again, I mean, let's definitely consider rank and prestige and brand name of these colleges, but think about location as well, as a pretty important factor. Next, size, right? Are you the kind of student who thrives in like this massive environment? Are you someone who is very extroverted, who could make friends wherever you go, right? Is not really overwhelmed by large crowd environments, large lecture halls, etc. You know, a large public university could be a great fit for you. Think about how you were in high school, right? If you were the type of kid in high school who kind of had a hard time making friends or was more shy or introverted, right? It is easy to get overwhelmed in an environment where your lecture halls are, say, 200 plus students and your professor is, you know, 10 rows away from you. So again, it goes back to thinking about who you are, your own personality match, and picking colleges that are really going to support your growth without overwhelming you. Finally, another really important factor is cost. Okay, none of us really like to talk about the cost of college, but it is a significant expense for you and your family, especially if you're not going on financial aid. So when you are picking a college, do keep that in mind. And, you know, if a college is well out of your budget range, don't spend too much time invested in researching that place and falling in love with a university that really is not financially feasible for you. And finally, this brings us to step 4, which is the elimination round, right? We've talked about all the different criteria and factors that are out there. You need to figure out what are the criteria that are most important to you. Do you care about rank and prestige more than, say, the location of a university or the culture of a university? Fair enough, you know, that is your priority in life, and we totally agree that the reputation and ranking often correlates to a really fantastic sort of academic experience, right? Whatever it is, rank these factors according to importance for you. And then as you're researching, you can start identifying universities that really have those offerings that you're looking for, and identifying the universities that really don't kind of meet what you need in an experience, right? And those can be eliminated, right? One by one. And then step 5 is finally honing in on that top university that you feel completely aligns with not only sort of the larger factors, but even the smaller elements of student life that really excite you about going, the types of professors you'll get to meet, or the types of pre-professional opportunities, or maybe the support and guidance you would receive from your advisor in terms of exploring what you want to do in your life. You really want to narrow in, and you might end up with a couple universities that really seem like the perfect fit for you, right? But ultimately, when you're maybe applying ED, which we'll get into later, you can only pick one, right? And if that's the case, then you really need to kind of just trust your gut, trust your instincts, try and see which option to you feels right, which one kind of feels lighter in your mind when you picture yourself there, and just go in, with your hopes high and knowing that ultimately you are gonna get what you put in to the experience. So it's not so much which college you end up at as much as what you make out of it. And finally, as we draw to a close for today's video, I just want to remind you all that you're going to hear a lot of voices from the people around you. You should go here, you should go there, right? There's a lot of opinions swirling around, but once you're able to hone in on the right college match for you, you're going to avoid regrets, surely. But the biggest benefit is that when you submit your application to that university, it will exude so much alignment with that college that any admissions officer will insist that you be accepted. You will become irresistible because they will see that, hey, this kid is really, really made for our community and is gonna add such an interesting perspective, is gonna add to our diversity, but still fit in and gel super well with all the values that we stand for. So it's really in your best interest strategically, but also for your overall happiness, to find the place where you're meant to be, and we're here to help you. Signing off this time as your friendly neighborhood college counselor, and stay tuned for much more advice on getting you through this amazing, wonderful journey of college admissions.